Take a look at this arrangement. If you don't have any objections, sign it." Chloe Montgomery handed me a contract as she spoke. Her voice was flat, matter-of-fact, as if she were merely appraising a piece of wholesale merchandise. I rubbed my shoulders, which were still aching from the scrap I'd just had with her personal security detail, and took the papers. I skimmed the lines, then tossed the contract right back at her face. "If you're broke, don't play the big shot," I spat. $100,000? That's embarrassing. I usually pull in at least 150 for a single fight. The four massive bodyguards standing nearby, each of them sporting the bruised, swollen faces I'd given them, started to close in. Chloe raised a hand, stopping them in their tracks. "Look closer. That's $100,000 per month," she said. "I've done my homework on you. You have a professional record of 48 fights, 2 wins, 46 losses. You're literally at the bottom of the league rankings. You haven't even been booked for a match in 6 months. Your only notable traits are your ability to take a beating and the fact that you're decent looking. Those are the 2 things I'm paying for." I froze. "Wait, $100,000 a month?" I stepped forward, scooped the contract off the floor, and gave it a thorough read. It was legit. $100,000 every single month. "So, does this include room and board?" "It does." "All right then, you got a deal." And just like that, I became Chloe Montgomery's hired boyfriend. My daily routine consisted of shadowing her and playing the part of the doting partner whenever we were in public. The moment the cameras were off or the guests were gone, she would instantly put distance between us, her demeanor turning ice cold. Later, I heard the gossip from her security team. It turned out Chloe was hung up on a childhood soulmate named Lucas Harrington, the heir to the Harrington fortune. They'd grown up together in the same elite circles. By all accounts, he was the quintessential Prince Charming, dashing, sophisticated, and devastatingly handsome. Chloe was head over heels, a total love brain when it came to him. Lucas, however, treated her with nothing but lukewarm indifference. He cycled through new girlfriends every 3 days, a textbook playboy who lived for the chase. Chloe had tried everything to get him to notice her, but he wouldn't give her the time of day. Desperate, she decided to hire a fake boyfriend to make him jealous and claw back some of his attention. It didn't really work. Whenever Chloe got upset because of Lucas, she'd come home and head straight for the private boxing ring she'd built in her penthouse. She'd use me as a human-heavy bag, venting all her frustration on me. Despite her perfect figure and stunning looks, she was a trained amateur kickboxer. After one of her venting sessions, I'd usually be covered in shades of purple and blue. I sucked it up for the sake of the monthly paycheck. After all, I got paid to get hit in the ring anyway, and the pay there was garbage compared to this. Today was Lucas's birthday. Chloe spent the entire morning getting dolled up, clutching an expensive designer watch she'd picked out months ago. She dragged me along to his birthday gala. As we reached the door of the VIP lounge, we overheard voices drifting from inside. "I mean, Lucas, you're the man. Even a queen like Chloe Montgomery is obsessed with you," a voice said. "But I don't get it, man. She's got the family pedigree. She's a 10 out of 10. She's top-tier NYC royalty. Why would you rather mess around with random influencers and C-list starlets instead of just locking her down?" That was Chad Miller, Lucas's lead sycophant. "You don't get it, Chad," Lucas replied, his voice dripping with arrogance. "Her family is too powerful. If I actually dated her and then got caught with someone else, the Montgomerys would ruin me. I'm young. Why would I tie myself to one tree when the whole forest is available? I'll play the field for a few more years. When I'm finally bored, then I'll marry her. But aren't you worried she'll get tired of waiting and move on? She's been seen with some new guy lately. Supposedly, they're official. Please, everyone in the city knows she's pathologically in love with me. Besides, I don't ignore her completely. You have to keep women at arm's length. The more push and pull you give them, the tighter they cling. That guy she's with is obviously just a pawn she hired to test me. Just watch. When they get here, I'm going to mess with him, and you'll see exactly whose side Chloe is really on." I stood there, jaw practically on the floor. I couldn't believe it. The legendary, sophisticated Chloe Montgomery was actually just a pathetic, low-stakes pick-me for this guy. I cautiously glanced at Chloe. Her hand was on the doorknob, her face unreadable. She didn't look hurt or angry. It was as if they were talking about someone else entirely. She waited until the conversation inside shifted to a different topic. Then she pushed the door open with a practiced smile. She greeted everyone as if she hadn't heard a word. Watching her, I realized that people in high society are all natural-born actors. True to his word, Lucas targeted me from the moment we sat down. He spent the evening taking passive-aggressive shots at my background or openly mocking me for being all brawn and no brains. For the sake of the money, I just smiled and took it. What confused me was Chloe's total lack of reaction. She just kept hovering around Lucas, playing the attentive friend. I was her public boyfriend. Insulting me was a direct slap to her face, yet she didn't seem to care. Since I couldn't fight back, I figured I'd at least stay out of the way. I found a quiet corner and sat down. Lucas wasn't satisfied. He hadn't gotten the reaction he wanted. He walked toward me with a smirk, holding a drink. "Hey, you're not mad, are you? This is just how we joke in our circle," Lucas said, his tone mocking. "Maybe you're just not used to this kind of environment. It's fine. Let me buy you a drink as an apology." He gave Chad a meaningful look. Chad grinned, heading over to the bar to grab a massive decorative glass, the kind meant for a whole table. He proceeded to pop 5 bottles of expensive red wine, pouring every drop into the giant vessel before shoving it in front of me. "Don't just sit there," Chad barked. "Lucas doesn't give many people the time of day. You better finish this." "I'm sorry, I'm driving tonight," I said with a polite smile. "I can't drink." "Don't you dare disrespect," Chad started, but Lucas cut him off. Lucas shoved Chad aside and looked at me. "You're Chloe's boyfriend, man, not her chauffeur. If you can't drive, I'll have my driver take you both home. It's my birthday. Everyone needs to have a good time." He glanced back at Chloe. She offered a small, neutral smile and didn't say a word. Instead, she caught my eye and subtly held up 5 fingers behind her back. I knew exactly what that meant. A $50,000 bonus. Without a second thought, I grabbed the glass and started chugging. Gulp, gulp, gulp. I finished the whole thing in record time. Now, 5 bottles of wine wasn't enough to actually put me under the table, but I wasn't an idiot. I knew if I stayed conscious, they'd just keep finding new ways to pick on me. I decided to fake it. I let my eyes roll back, slumped onto the sofa, and played the part of passed out drunk. No matter how much they nudged or patted me, I didn't move. Pathetic, Lucas sneered. Total lightweight. Let's not let a loser like this ruin the vibe. Let's keep going. Under Chad's loud cheering, the party roared back to life. Eventually, between the actual alcohol and the boredom of lying still, I drifted off into a deep sleep. When I woke up, I was back at the penthouse. The wine had been higher quality than the cheap stuff I usually drank, but the after effects were still heavy. I shook my head, trying to clear the fog. "You're awake. Dinner's ready. Come get some food," Chloe said, walking into the room. "I'm really sorry about tonight," she added as I sat down. "Lucas just has that kind of personality. If people don't go along with what he wants, he can get difficult." I waved it off. "It's whatever. Just make sure you add that extra $50,000 to my check next month." Chloe hesitated for a fraction of a second. "Fina, 50,000 it is." I knew she probably meant 5,000 when she held up those fingers, but I intentionally misinterpreted it as 50. She was so wealthy, she wasn't going to quibble over the difference. Over the next few days, Chloe was swamped with either company business or social events with Lucas and his crowd. Naturally, I was always there to be the butt of their jokes. Whenever things got particularly nasty, she'd tack on a bonus to my pay, so I was actually making a killing. Because I was always around, Chloe eventually reassigned her regular bodyguards and drive her elsewhere. Their duties fell to me. I dropped several hints that more work should mean a higher base salary, but she acted like she didn't hear me. The more time I spent with her, the more I noticed the contrast in her personality. Outside of her love-brain obsession with Lucas, she was a fierce, cold-blooded CEO. She'd clearly grown up watching the masters of the business world, and she ran her company with effortless precision. She was also deeply involved in charity work. She'd set aside time to volunteer at nursing homes and orphanages, personally delivering massive amounts of supplies. In her normal life, she was kind, brilliant, and sharp, a completely different person from the pathetic girl who chased Lucas Harrington. It was so jarring I sometimes wondered if she'd been brainwashed. We actually started getting along pretty well. I'm a naturally funny guy, and I could usually get her to laugh. One day, we were having a great conversation when I let my guard down. I mentioned Lucas, calling him a total scumbag and asking why she was so loyal to him. The laughter died instantly. Chloe's face turned to stone, her eyes flashing with a coldness that felt like it could freeze the room. "You are an employee," she snapped. "Don't forget your place. My business with Lucas is not something you get to comment on." She walked out, her face dark with anger. I was just trying to look out for her, but I'd clearly hit a nerve. Lucas was her holy ground. You didn't step on it unless you wanted trouble. The next day, I was driving her home from the office. We were chatting and laughing again, as if the previous night's blow-up hadn't happened. I'm a talker, but with her, the conversation felt easy and natural. As we neared the building, her phone buzzed. "Okay, I'm almost there," she said, her voice turning soft and eager. I didn't even have to look. "Caleb," she said, looking at me. "Change of plans. Take us to the Imperial Club. Lucas is waiting for us there." "You got it," I replied. 20 minutes later, I pulled into the club's VIP parking lot. I'll stay in the car, I said. You go ahead and have fun. I'm not really feeling the party vibe tonight. I had a nagging sense of dread that I couldn't quite shake. Fine, grab a bite to eat nearby if you get hungry, she said, closing the door and practically jogging toward the entrance. I watched her go, shaking my head. Every time it involved Lucas, she acted like a teenager on her way to a prom date. I reclined the driver's seat, hoping to catch a nap, but my phone buzzed almost immediately. It was Chloe. Apparently, Lucas had specifically requested that I join the party. My gut feeling had been right. He was looking for trouble. I stood outside the lounge door, took a deep breath, and gave myself a pep talk. It's just work, I told myself. The money's good. No shame in it. I eased the door open, hoping to slip in unnoticed while the music was loud. No such luck. It was like they were all waiting for the door to move. The second I stepped inside, the music cut out and every eye in the room landed on me. Lucas was sprawled on a leather sofa, beckoning me over with a crooked grin and a wagging finger. Gale, come on in. We're playing truth or dare. You're just in time. His tone was jovial, but there was an edge to it that left no room for a no. I forced myself to walk over. As soon as I sat down, Chad Miller slammed a bucket of challenge cards onto the table. There were 8 of us playing, Chloe, myself, and 6 of Lucas's wealthy cronies. In the first round, Lucas lost. He looked thrilled about it. He threw his hands up and said, I choose dare. Give me your best shot. I'll lead by example. Whatever the dare is, I'm doing it. His friends cheered. Chad Miller gave me a predatory look and smirked. Everyone says Caleb here is a pro fighter. His pain tolerance must be insane, right? Lucas, I dare you to punch him until he begs for mercy. If he cracks, you win. I stared at him, stunned. I knew they were jerks, but this was a new level of twisted. I glanced at Chloe. Her eyes were fixed on Lucas. She hadn't even looked at me. Man, that's a tough one, Lucas said, his voice feigning hesitation while his eyes gleamed with malice. Look at those muscles. I'll probably break my hand before he even feels a tickle. Don't worry, Lucas. We came prepared, Chad said. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a set of heavy brass knuckles, sliding them into Lucas's hand. Lucas stood up, slipping the metal over his fingers. I was genuinely alarmed. Those things were lethal weapons. Just as he was squaring up to swing, a voice cut through the room. Stop it. That's way too much. You're going to seriously hurt him. It was Chloe. She'd finally snapped out of her trance and stepped between us. What? You're worried about him? Lucas's face darkened instantly. His eyes even turned a little watery, the picture of a heartbroken man. You told me you weren't catching feelings for anyone else, but you can't even handle a little game? Maybe you're the one who's not playing fair. Chloe immediately panicked at the sight of his distress. She rushed to comfort him, hovering over him and apologizing. They whispered back and forth for a while. Eventually, they agreed the brass knuckles were too much. Chad produced a pair of boxing gloves instead. Lucas wailed on me for a few minutes. I barely felt a thing through the padding, but I played my part, groaning and eventually begging for him to stop just to stroke his ego. The next round, I was the one who lost. I didn't hesitate. Truth. I figured I could lie about a truth, but a dare would probably involve them trying to kill me. What kind of man chooses truth? Someone jeered. Exactly. Don't be a coward. Lucas set the bar with a dare. From now on, it's dare only. That's how you keep it interesting. Interesting for you, maybe I thought. They wouldn't let it go. Chloe pulled me aside and whispered, I'll give you another bonus when we get home. If they go too far, I'll stop them. Just play along for now, so everyone stays happy. I caved. To my surprise, Lucas's dare was for me to strip. Completely. Chloe argued with them for a bit, eventually negotiating it down to me, staying in my boxer briefs. Take it off. Take it off, they chanted. I stripped down, revealing my lean, scarred physique, the result of years of professional conditioning and brutal matches. The women in the room actually gasped, their eyes wandering over the definition of my muscles. Even Chloe seemed to lose her train of breath for a second, her gaze lingering on me longer than usual. What are you all looking at? Chad snapped, clearly annoyed. It's just meat. Let's get to the next round. Of course, Chad was the one who lost the third round. He looked at the group with a smug grin. All right, what V you got for me? How about you take a punch from me? I interrupted. What? No, the dare has to be a group decision, Chad argued. What's the matter? The game is supposed to be back and forth, right? If it's just everyone picking on me, I'm done. I'm leaving. I made a show of standing up to put my clothes back on. I'm with Caleb, Chloe said firmly. Lucas shot me a venomous look, but nodded. He wasn't done with his show yet and didn't want the party to end. Once the leader agreed, the rest of the group fell in line. Chad looked nervous, but with Lucas watching, He couldn't back down. He muttered some empty threats under his breath as I pulled on a boxing glove. I didn't waste any time. I squared up and delivered a textbook liver shot, a lightning-fast hook right under his right ribs. It was a perfect connection. Chad's face turned the color of a bruised plum. He collapsed to the floor, his mouth hanging open in a silent scream. His body convulsed as he struggled to draw a single breath. The liver doesn't have pain receptors, but the impact stretches the surrounding nerves and causes a massive drop in blood pressure. The agony is instantaneous and paralyzing. The room went dead silent. The mockery was gone, replaced by genuine fear as they looked at me. Only Lucas looked offended, as if I'd insulted him by breaking his toy. They hauled Chad out of the room to recover. We started the next round almost immediately. This time, Chloe lost. She stayed calm. She knew no one would dare pull anything truly malicious on her. Fine. I cosa dare? Everyone looked at Lucas. He was the only one with the status to challenge her. He was fuming inside. He'd brought his friends here to watch me get humiliated, but instead, I'd stolen the spotlight and crippled his favorite lackey. Worst of all, he noticed Chloe defending me and looking at my body. In Lucas's mind, Chloe was a fish in his private pond. He didn't even have to feed her. She just stayed there. Now, he felt like the fish was trying to jump into a different pond, and he wasn't about to let that happen. Since it's Chloe, we can't be too mean, Lucas said, his voice dripping with fake charm. How about this? I dare you to kiss your boyfriend, but it has to be a real one. 3 minutes, nonstop. He said it with total confidence. He'd known Chloe for a lifetime. He knew how deep her devotion ran. He was certain she wouldn't kiss another man in front of him. If she refused, her relationship with me would be exposed as a lie, and he could kick me out of her life for good. Chloe's expression shifted from relaxed to horrified. She never expected this from him. She'd loved him since they were kids, and she'd guarded herself for him. She'd never even had a first kiss. She was saving everything for the day he finally chose her. Her eyes filled with tears as she stared at him. Are you serious right now? She whispered. Lucas shrugged, his tone mocking. Dead serious. You've been dating for over a month, right? I'm sure you've done plenty more than that. What's a little kiss? Lucas, you know how I feel about you, Chloe said, her voice rising with emotion. You know exactly what our relationship is. How can you stand there and degrade me like this? Do you think because I love you, you have the right to treat me like garbage? Lucas saw her breaking and leaned in. He wanted her to crumble, to admit the whole thing was a sham, to beg for his forgiveness and get rid of me. Your feelings? Your relationship? I don't know what you're talking about, Lucas said smugly. Maybe you should tell the group. There's a song about this, right? Girls are hard to read. I'm not a mind reader, Chloe. If you don't tell me what you're thinking, how would I know? He shot me a triumphant look, waiting for the get lost order. The tension in the room was suffocating. I tried to step in to de-escalate. Hey, let's just pick something else. I'm not really into public displays of, shut up. They both snapped at me simultaneously. Fine, Chloe said, her voice trembling but cold. Fine, Lucas. If this is what you want, don't regret it. She stepped toward me, grabbed the back of my neck, and pulled my face down to hers. She stood on her tiptoes, closed her eyes, and pressed her lips against mine. 2 silent tears rolled down her cheeks as she did it. The kiss broke after a second. Are you happy now? She asked Lucas, her voice like ice. Lucas was stunned. He hadn't expected her to actually do it. It felt like someone had taken a fish from his pond, cooked it, and served it to a stranger right in front of him. He felt the blood rush to his face, turning from red to a furious purple. He gripped his wine glass so hard the stem creaked. I said, 3 minutes, he snarled through gritted teeth. Clock starts now. Chloe didn't hesitate. She crushed her lips against mine again. I could feel her trembling. Then, a scent of something sweet and feminine hit me, and my instincts took over. We went from a stiff, forced press to a real, deep kiss. I felt her tongue tentatively meet mine, and, as the seconds ticked by, we both lost ourselves in it. The room faded away, and for a moment, it wasn't a game anymore. Crack! The sound of glass shattering broke the spell. Lucas let out a roar that was so high-pitched it cracked. Enough! Stop it! My hand is bleeding from the glass, and you two are still going. Chloe jerked away from me, looking dazed. When she saw Lucas's bleeding hand and his distorted, murderous expression, she looked panicked and lost. The rest of the group scrambled to help him, eventually rushing him to the emergency room. When we finally got back to the penthouse, Chloe marched me straight to the boxing ring. She was like a woman possessed, throwing punches and kicks with frantic, uncoordinated rage. Eventually, she tore off her gloves and just started swinging her bare fists. When that wasn't enough, she lunged at me and actually bit my shoulder. Ow! Hey! Foul! No biting. I yelled, trying to peel her off. She didn't listen. She bit harder. Finally, I'd had enough. I threw a controlled hook that knocked her off balance and onto the mat. Snap out of it. I yelled. You heard what he said the other night. Why do you keep lying to yourself? He's a scumbag. He brings different women to every party, sometimes two at a time. I don't get it. Why are you throwing away your dignity for a guy like that? Look at yourself. You look like a crazy person. Is he really worth all this? Maybe it was the pain from the bite, or maybe I was just tired of watching her hurt herself, but everything I'd been thinking for months came pouring out. She stayed on the mat, her shoulders shaking. She was crying, but it was silent. Minutes passed, and she didn't get up. I started to feel the guilt creep in. Did I hit her too hard? Was she going to fire me? I really needed this job. The pay was too good to lose just because I lost my temper. Hey, you okay? I didn't mean to. I'm fine, she said, suddenly sitting up. Her sudden movement startled me. But you got some nerve. You hit me? You yelled at me? My own father has never even raised a finger to me in my entire life. She lunged at me again, hitting and kicking until she finally ran out of steam. She sat down on the canvas and began to sob loudly. I grabbed a box of tissues and sat down next to her. She took them one by one, blowing her nose and wiping her eyes until there was a small mountain of used tissues behind her. When she reached for another, I showed her the empty box. All out, looking at her, her eyes red and swollen, her usual composure shattered. I felt my heart soften. I'll go get more, I whispered. Don't bother, she said, taking a shaky breath. You think I'm pathetic, don't you? A girl with no self-respect, chasing a guy who treats her like an afterthought, waiting for a playboy to decide he's finished having fun so he can come back and marry me. I don't think you're pathetic, I said. I just don't get it. Did he save your life in a previous world or something? Did you skip the forgetting potion before you were reborn? What are you talking about? Reborn? You watched too many movies, she said, a tiny ghost of a smile appearing. She sighed and finally told me the story. It happened on her 7th birthday. Her father had built a massive, elaborate private playhouse in their backyard for the party. All the kids from the neighboring estates were there, including Lucas. After hours of playing, young Chloe got tired and crawled into a quiet corner of the playhouse to nap. She woke up to the smell of smoke. The structure was on fire, filled with thick black smoke and licking flames. She was too small and too terrified to find the exit. She just sat there and screamed. Just when she thought she was going to die, Lucas burst through the door and pulled her out. She said that in that moment, when the door opened and the light hit him, he looked like a guardian angel. From that day on, she was devoted to him. She knew he wasn't a great guy, but she couldn't bring herself to hate him. She felt safe whenever he was around because, in her mind, he was the hero who'd pulled her from the fire. I finally understood. Every little girl wants a hero, and Lucas had filled that role for her perfectly. But let me ask you this, I said. Is it love, or is it just gratitude? She seemed calmer now that the story was out. I don't know. No other man has ever been part of my world. Everyone else is just an NPC. Lucas is the only one who feels real. So, your dad is an NPC. Shut up. You know what I mean. My dad is different. So your dad isn't a man? You're an idiot, she said, playfully kicking at me. Look, I'm just saying, I don't think it's love. Love is supposed to be selfish. If you really loved him, you'd be furious when he was with other women. You'd be jealous. You'd be losing your mind. But you're calm. You even critique his dates. That's not love. That's habit. She went quiet, processing what I'd said. So, what is it supposed to feel like? Liking someone, I mean. Well, I said, thinking, you should be happy just to see them. You should feel comfortable when you're together. You should miss them when they're gone. If you got those three, you're probably on the right track. Her eyes suddenly lit up. She pointed a finger at me. Wait, that's you. I'm always happy when I see you. You always make me laugh. When I'm at the office, I never think about Lucas, but I catch myself thinking about you all the time, wondering what you're going to bring me for lunch or where we're going after work. Does that mean I'm in love with you? She looked genuinely shocked by her own realization. Well, I said, grinning, if you want to love me, that's going to cost extra. She rolled her eyes. Keep dreaming. I'll let the hitting and yelling slide this time. Go get some sleep. She walked away, but I could tell the gears were turning. She wasn't stupid. She just lacked experience. The next 2 weeks were quiet. Lucas didn't call. Normally, Chloe would have been the one to cave and call him, but she didn't. Maybe my words had actually made an impact, or maybe she was just too busy with her charity work and the company. Lucas, meanwhile, was playing a game of chicken. He was used to being the one chased. He figured if he held out, she'd eventually come crawling back to apologize. He didn't want to lose his leverage over her. I was the one feeling nervous. If they stopped seeing each other, she wouldn't need a fake boyfriend anymore. I was terrified of losing the best-paying gig I'd ever had. I went out of my way to be helpful, even deciding that if she tried to fire me, I'd offer to take a pay cut just to stay on. But she didn't seem to be moving toward a breakup with me. In fact, she was nicer than ever, even buying me small gifts from time to time. Today, she decided to treat me to dinner. She chose a high-end restaurant where her social circle usually hung out. I had a feeling she was hoping for a coincidental run-in with Lucas. She pulled up his contact info several times over the last few weeks, but never hit dial. The hostess told us the booth they usually booked, booth 25, was taken, so she led us to booth 26. As we walked past 25, Chloe slowed her pace, glancing through the gap in the curtain. A familiar voice drifted out. "Lucas, man, you went too far last time. We all know she's crazy about you, but you embarrassed her in front of everyone. She's actually mad this time. Maybe you should be the one to call." It was Chad Miller. "Please," Lucas replied, his voice slurred from drink. "I don't call people. I'm actually impressed she's lasted a month, but she'll break. Besides, I'm having a blast without her." We heard the giggling of several women inside. I could practically picture Lucas with a girl on each arm. After some muffled sounds, Lucas continued, "I know for a fact she won't leave. She thinks I'm her savior. She thinks I saved her life in that playhouse fire. She doesn't know I was the one who started the fire. That playhouse was so much better than mine, and all the kids were following her around like puppies. I was older, I was supposed to be the leader. So I lit the damn thing on fire. I got scared because I couldn't find the exit, and I just happened to find her and drag her out with me. Her whole family thinks I'm a hero. She's obsessed with me. God, they're so stupid. It's hilarious." The booth door was kicked open with a violent bang. Chloe stormed in and delivered 2 blistering slaps across Lucas's face. "Lucas Harrington," she spat. "You are the most disgusting human being I have ever met." She turned and ran out of the restaurant. That was the turning point. Lucas finally realized he'd lost his grip. He started bombarding her with calls and texts. When she blocked him, he'd use a burner phone. He showed up at her office, but she refused to see him. He moved from apologizing to threatening. He started posting tell-all stories on social media, detailing every private thing Chloe had ever done for him, trying to humiliate her. Chloe didn't care. She'd never lived for other people's opinions anyway. To get away from the drama, she took me on a month-long trip to Europe. We spent 4 weeks touring the continent. Away from the pressure of her life in the city, I saw the real Chloe. She was warm, compassionate, and truly good at heart. I found myself genuinely falling for her. The trouble started on the way back from the airport. A few blacked-out SUVs forced our car off the road. Half a dozen masked men jumped out, wielding bats and smashing the windows. I went into combat mode. I hopped out of the car, fists flying. Even against multiple opponents, my pro training was too much for them. Within 10 minutes, 4 of them were unconscious on the asphalt. "Stop right there, or she's dead," a voice boomed. I froze and turned around. 2 men were left. One had a hand clamped around Chloe's throat, and the other was shielding him. Chloe's face was pale, her breath coming in ragged gasps. Okay, I shouted, raising my hands. "I am stopping. Just let her go. If you hurt her, I swear I will beat you both to death with my bare hands." They didn't listen. They shoved Chloe into a van, and I was forced into another. They blindfolded me and drove for what felt like an hour. When the blindfold came off, I was in a warehouse. Before I could even see my surroundings, they started kicking and punching me. I couldn't fight back while tied up. After 10 minutes of abuse, I slumped to the ground. "Down already? I'm not even warmed up yet." Chad Miller's voice rang out. He kicked me a few more times for good measure. Chloe was nearby, screaming for them to stop. "Why do you care so much about this thug?" Lucas's voice was hysterical. "You've actually caught feelings for him. You've changed, Chloe. You used to ignore guys who were 1,000 times better than this loser. Why him?" Chloe glared at him through her tears. "I loved you because I thought you saved me. I thought you were special. But you're just a psychopath who burns things down when he doesn't get his way. I know the truth now, and I see you for exactly what you are. Every time you touch another woman, I feel sick. Let's go, Lucas. If you don't, I will make sure you and the Harrington name disappear from this city. You still haven't figured out the situation, have you?" Lucas laughed, reaching out to stroke her face. "I've waited years to have you. I was going to wait until we were married, but I think I'll move up the timeline." Rip. The sound of tearing fabric echoed in the warehouse. Chloe screamed. The sound sent a jolt of pure adrenaline through my system. My blood felt like it was boiling. I strained against the ropes, the friction burning my skin, until, snap, the cord gave way. I ripped off my blindfold. Chloe was pinned to a table by 2 men, her shirt torn. I didn't think. I lunged forward and delivered a flying kick that caught Lucas square in the jaw. He went down like a sack of bricks. I threw my jacket over Chloe, shielding her as she shook with terror. It's okay, I whispered. I've got you. We're going home. I help her up. The remaining hired muscle saw the look in my eyes and the way I'd handled their friends. Nobody moved. What are you doing? Chad screamed from behind them. Get them. Lucas will pay you whatever you want. You get him. One of the men spat, clutching a broken arm. I can't even move. This guy's a monster. Chad could only watch as we walked out. The adrenaline kept me going until we reached the car, but I was badly hurt. We both ended up in the hospital. 10 days later, Chloe walked into my hospital room with a radiant smile. She told me the news. Her family had decimated Lucas. He was in prison, and they made sure his time inside would be a living hell. The Harringtons had frantically cut ties with him and paid massive settlements just to keep their company from being liquidated. Feel better now? Chloe asked softly, peeling an apple for me. If you're still mad, I can go after the rest of his family. I'm fine, I said, as long as you're safe. His parents have been by here a dozen times to apologize. Let go. Here, she said, handing me the apple slice and a few pieces of paper. Sign this. I looked at the top page. It was a formal prenuptial agreement. Wait, I said, blinking. Does this mean I'm getting a promotion? She didn't say a word. She just smiled and nodded. Story complete.